Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my thoughts on Tim Curry as the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this topic, I want to give a special shout out to a longtime friend and subscriber of mine, Corey, for requesting this video. And if there's another topic, TV show, or film that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, this topic I thought was really fascinating because it is something that I was made aware of before this request. I was just doing a random search down the rabbit hole on YouTube one night when I was looking up stuff related to Batman the Animated Series. And I came across a clip that talked about Tim Curry as the Joker. And despite the fact that I am a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series, I had no idea that Tim Curry was ever considered for the role of the Joker. In fact, I was not even aware that he was the first choice to play the Joker. I wasn't aware of that until I saw that video. And the video was interesting. It was definitely a rough cut, so to speak. The audio session didn't really have a lot of post processing. It was just a clip that looked like it was from a work print of some sequences from The Last Laugh, an episode from season 1. And initially, when I saw this clip without the score from that episode and the sound effects and extra processing, I thought it was pretty bad. I didn't have the best first impression of Tim Curry as the Joker. But a fan of Batman the animated series on YouTube, they took the clips that were used in the work print footage and they took out the audio of Tim Curry as the Joker and they put it into the the episode with the music and with the sound effects. And that made a significant difference because with the music and the sound effects and Kevin Conroy uh, bouncing off Tim Curry, this made it much more effective. And when I saw that, I came to the conclusion that Tim Curry did a solid job as the Joker. And I think if he was given more episodes and more chances to hone what the producers were looking for or his own take on this character, I think he could have done an amazing job. The thing is, I can see why the network and the producers decided to go in a different direction. It's a combination of things and factors for me. For one, I do buy into the fact that some of his voiceover work here is a little too intense for the younger audiences, especially the bit where he talks about Batman melting like a cheese sandwich, because the way that he said that line was very similar to Pennywise, and I can see that being a little bit too intense for younger audiences. There's also a couple other moments when he goes really low in terms of his voice, goes really deep in register, and that is also something that's a little unsettling. But I don't really think that's the main reason why, because there's another reason I think is honestly the biggest reason why they went with a different voice actor. And sadly, that reason is Tim Curry's health. He had a really bad bout of laryngitis, and it pretty much prevented him from working within the schedule that the producers and the creators of the show were wanting Tim to work with in order for them to get the voiceovers recorded for season 1. So they moved on for that reason. I know you hear stuff they say they moved on because his Joker was too scary. And I can see that it was a voiceover performance that was a little bit too intense at times for younger audiences, but I think that's not really the main reason. The main reason is just simply the fact that Tim Curry couldn't work with the schedule because of his own illness, which is too bad. It's unfortunate. I think if he was, like I said, given more shots, given more time to work on this role and to really narrow things down in terms of what works and what doesn't, I think this could turn into a really great Joker performance. Um, but fate would have it that Mark Hamill would be the one that would come in and replace Tim. And the job that he did is iconic and legendary. And it's honestly hard to imagine anyone else in this role other than Mark Hamill because of just how amazing he was as the Joker. But the thing is, he started off his performance as a Joker in this show not necessarily at the same level that he would be at with more episodes under his belt. Even the creators and the producers of the show mentioned that. They mentioned that in the first 2 episodes, Mark was very much channeling what Tim Curry already brought to the performance. And he was adding his own little touches here and there, but it wasn't until 3 or 4 or maybe 5 episodes in when Mark really nailed his take on the Joker. And you can kind of see that a little bit. Like when you compare the two, there's definitely a little inspiration there, but one of the main differences between the two performances is definitely how Tim Curry, he's a little bit more over the top and less measured in terms of the menace and the maniacal nature of the Joker. And there's also some points with Tim Curry's voiceover in terms of what we have to see and hear that is kind of just generic thug, which I think is not the right voiceover for the Joker. And it was just kind of uneven at times, where Mark Hamill was more measured, he was more consistent. Even in his earlier Joker voiceovers, he was still more consistent than uh, what Tim Curry uh, has shown, at least in terms of what we can see. I mean, there is a chance that Tim Curry did other takes and they were more consistent, better, but we don't have access to those, so we can't really hear or see any of those takes. So what we have is admittedly kind of uneven, and I think that also might have been a factor when it comes to moving on and going to a different voice actor. But I think the producers and the creators of the show, I think they would have worked with Tim and allowed him the opportunity to really flesh this performance out with more chances and more stabs at it because of their respect for Tim. And I think that would have turned out just fine. But that's only if Tim was physically able to do it, and sadly he wasn't able to. So another main difference is definitely the laugh. Like the way that Tim Curry handles the Joker's laugh is not nearly as complex and as instantly memorable and creepy in a way that is also uh a little bit lighthearted. Like Joker's laugh from Tim Curry was definitely more sinister, where Mark Hamill's laugh was sinister but silly at the same time. So it didn't really have the same edge to it, but Mark also had more variety when it comes to the kinds of laughs that he would provide the Joker with. And that was something that Mark brought to the role. And one of his main key things that he was trying to bring to the performance is this variety when it comes to the different kinds of laughs that the Joker has that tie into his various different moods for any given scene. And there's that performance and just ability to just bring more to the role that definitely isn't really on display when it comes to what we have to witness with Tim Curry as a Joker. But like I said, I think that's something that could have been alleviated or something that could have been dramatically improved upon with just more opportunities for Tim to work within the realm and the confines of the Joker and this this series. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's really cool to see the little bits that we have here with Tim Curry as the Joker, because I'm a huge fan of Tim Curry, and it was just a really uh, fun thing to watch. But Mark definitely brought something to this role that I think is ultimately so iconic and so incredible in its own way that I am 100% okay with how things ultimately turned out. Because on one hand, it would have been cool to have seen what Tim Curry would have brought to the role with more opportunities. But on the other hand, what we already know when it comes to the Joker and Batman the Animated Series from Mark is so marvelous and so magnificent that it's hard to really think of a universe or some sort of alternate timeline when Mark Hamill is not the one that is bringing this character to life in this series. And I think Mark Hamill, in a lot of ways, is one of the biggest reasons why this show works as well as it does. I mean, the way that he plays off of Kevin Conroy is phenomenal, and the two have great chemistry, and it's just one of those things where what Mark ultimately brought to the role is just so valuable and so vital that things just ultimately worked out in a way that provided the best possible performer for the job. And sometimes that's what happens. You have someone who is capable of doing a job, but something happens and they're just not able to do it anymore. So fate would have it that someone else would come in and have to fill their shoes, and that is the person that ultimately does the best job imaginable and does such a great job with the role or with the task at hand that it's hard for anyone to imagine anyone else doing it. And I think that's ultimately what happened here with Tim Curry and Mark Hamill when it comes to their performances as the Joker. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this what if scenario involving Tim Curry as the Joker and Batman, the animated series. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.